Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From makeshift studios deep in the heart of stately Maine Manor, this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. You can follow the show's Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. Today, we do something a little bit different. Because today, we look at SuperClash 85 from the AWA. Now, this is not on Peacock, but it is easily found on the internet if you know where to look. Just go look for a tube if you get my drift. And I had to do this show because I'm a completist. I took a look at the AWA last April with Super Sunday and Wrestle Rock 86 and SuperClash 2, 3, and 4. And then just a little bit ago did the Road to SuperClash 3 special that they had on the network. So, being a completist, I had to do this show. This show is AWA SuperClash 85, billed as the Night of Champions. Took place September the 28th, 1985, from Kaminsky Park in Chicago, Illinois. There were 20,347 in attendance. We start out with our AWA intro. Larry Nelson welcomes us. He is with Vern Gagne. They then cut to Larry talking to Brad Rheingans, who is going to challenge light heavyweight champion Steve Regal. He says Regal is quick, but he's ready. Nelson then interviews Steve Regal. He says he's a better wrestler than Rheingans. And again, this is Mr. Electricity, Steve Regal. We saw him in our last show working for Jim Crockett Promotions at the Great American Bash 86. But here in 85, he's the AWA Light Heavyweight Champion. AWA Light Heavyweight Championship match, Steve Regal versus Brad Rheingans. The referee takes his time checking both men and explaining the rules. Slow to start. Regal misses a right. Rheingans with a wrist lock. Regal gets to the ropes. Rheingans with a side headlock. Regal tries to power out. Rheingans holds on and flips Regal down. He gets a 2 count. Regal reverses for a 2 count. Regal back to the side headlock. Regal gets to the ropes. Rheingans pushes off. Regal with a shoulder block. Regal gets caught in a monkey flip by Rheingans. Rheingans with an armbar. Regal with shots to Rheingans in the corner. Corner whip by Regal, but he misses the corner charge when Rheingans moves. Rheingans back to the wrist lock. Regal reverses it. A hammerlock by Rheingans, but Regal pushes off. Rheingans misses a drop kick. Regal runs Rheingans into the turnbuckle. Regal on the attack. A rake to the eyes of Rheingans. Running elbow by Regal. Gets a 2 count. Regal with a headlock. Rheingans trying to come back. Regal pulls some hair to get Rheingans back down. Gets a 2 count while Rheingans is still in the headlock. Rheingans trying to power out. Rheingans again trying to power out. Regal keeps pulling the hair, but the referee doesn't see it. Regal with a slam. Comes off the ropes with a flying elbow. Gets a 2 count. Another body slam by Regal. He misses an elbow drop. Rheingans coming back with slaps and chops. Boot to Regal's stomach. Rheingans with a corner whip and a backdrop. Gets a 2 count. Rheingans with an atomic drop. He goes for a cover, but Jimmy Garvin gets up on the apron. Rheingans punches Garvin and gets rolled up by Regal to get the pin. Rheingans attacks Regal afterwards. Larry Nelson interviews Steve Regal after the match. He says he's still the champ, and he beat Rheingans, just like he said he would. Larry Nelson talks to Sherry Martel, who is challenging for the Ladies' Championship. Martel says tonight, she's taking down Candy Devine. Larry then talks to Candy Devine. She says she is going to win tonight and prove she's the toughest. AWA Ladies Championship match, Candy Divine versus Sherry Martel. Before they start, Brad Ragans is shown chasing Steve Regal and slamming him on the outfield grass, Martel refusing to have the referee check her. Finally, she relents after screaming at the ref for a couple of minutes. Divine with an arm drag, then another one, and Martel doesn't like it and screams at the referee again. Martel with the takedown and has an arm bar on. Martel working the arm. Divine gets to her feet. Martel pulls her tights to get her back down. Divine reverses the lock and has a hammerlock on Martel. Martel gets to the ropes. Divine goes back to working the arm. Martel with a shot to the stomach to break the hold. Martel runs Divine into the ring post. Martel with a kick to Divine's head. Martel with a head knocker. Martel with some shots to Divine's head. Martel throws Divine outside. Divine sneaks back in and drop kicks Martel to the outside. Larry Nelson a little confused as Martel had gone out over the top rope. Martel doesn't want to come back in, but Divine brings her back in by slinging her on the ropes. Martel slingshot over the ring. Divine does it again and goes for the Boston Crab. Martel tapping, but this is the time before tapping was a thing. Martel gets out of it and gets a 2 count. Divine reverses it for a 2 count of her own. Martel with a side headlock and a shot to Divine's face. Martel with a leg drop. Martel with a small package and Divine gets out of it. Martel throws Divine out of the ring. Divine trying to get back inside. Divine grabs Martel's leg and slams it on the ring apron. She does it again, then brings her over and slams the leg against the ring post. Back in, Divine with a wrist lock and an arm bar to Martel. Martel trying to get out of it and attacks Divine. Martel with a boot across the face of Divine. Martel stomping on Divine. Martel with an Irish whip and a backdrop. She tries it again and Divine turns it into a sunset flip for a 2 count. Martel with a clothesline, a suplex, and a top rope knee drop to get the pin. New AWA Ladies Champion, Sherry Martel. She attacks Divine with the belt. Larry Nelson asks Martel why she attacked Divine after the match. Martel says she's been dodging her for years, and now we know who the better woman is. Larry Nelson talks to the Long Riders and Harley Race, who are going to challenge for the Asian 6-man Tag Team Championship. Race says they didn't fly there to get their rear ends kicked. They came to win. Larry Nelson then tries to talk to the Tag Team Champions, Jumbo Tsuruta, Giant Baba, and Junichiro Tenryu, but right away realizes it wouldn't be good, so he just says thank you very much. Asian 6-man Tag Team Championship match, Jumbo Tsuruta, Giant Baba, and Junichiro Tenryu versus the Long Riders, Scott and Bill Irwin, and Harley Race. The announcer has some trouble with Jumbo Tsuruta's name, which is understandable because it's the 80s and you can't Google a pronunciation. Tenryu and Scott start. Scott with a wrist lock. Tenryu reverses it and delivers shots to Scott's chest. Scott with a boot to the gut and shots to Tenryu's back. Tenryu with a corner whip and a hip toss. Tenryu with a drop kick and Race tagged in. Tenryu with an arm drag and a wrist lock to Race into an arm bar. Race with an Irish whip and a leapfrog. Tenryu responds with a body slam. Tsuruta tagged in and Race gets him to the wrong corner. Bill tagged in. He Irish whips Tsuruta off and plants a knee to the gut. Bill with a running kick and runs Tsuruta into a corner turnbuckle. Bill with a back elbow and a side headlock. Tsuruta powers out of it. Bill tags Race in. Race with a shoulder block. Tsuruta comes back with a flying knee. Baba tagged in. Double Irish whip and double punch. Race down. Baba with chops to Race's head. Then a variation of a side Russian leg sweep to Race. but Scott breaks up the pin. Race attacks Baba's knees, then delivers a headbutt. Bill tagged in and they keep Baba in their corner. Baba coming back with kicks to Bill. He Irish whips and chops Bill. Tenryu tagged in and hits a back elbow. That gets a 2 count. Tenryu chops Bill. Bill reverses an Irish whip, misses a clothesline, but hits a running kick. Scott tagged in. Tenryu Irish whipped and Scott hits a knee lift. Scott drops the knee. Gets a 2 count. Race tagged in and delivers a punch to Tenryu's gut. They trade shots. Tenryu chops Race down. Tenryu with an enziguri. That gets a 1 count. Bill guillotines Tenryu on the second rope. Race slams Tenryu for a 2 count. Race with a pile driver on Tenryu. Tsuruta makes the save. Race drops an elbow. Gets another 2 count. Scott tagged in. He gets an Irish whip and a drop kick. Gets a 2 count. Bill tagged in. Double back elbow with Scott. Gets a 2 count. Knee drop by Bill. That gets a 2 count, but Tenryu gets his foot on the ropes. Scott tagged in. Double shoulder chop to Tenryu. Irish whip, but Tenryu gets a boot to Scott. Tsuruta tagged in. Bill tagged in. Tsuruta chops all 3 of his opponents. Tsuruta runs the Irwin brothers into each other. Baba tagged in. He corner whips Bill up and over the corner post. Irwin is out of it on the outside. They get him back in. Baba with a snapmare. Baba just steps on Bill. Tenryu tagged in. He slams Bill. Gets a 2 count. Tenryu with a corner whip. Bill comes out with a clothesline. Bill with a head cracker. Gets another 2 count. Bill drops an elbow. Gets another 2 count. All 6 men in. Baba tagged in and he pins Bill. Larry Nelson talks to the Long Riders and Harley Race. They yell at Nelson when he says that they didn't win. Lord help me, they announce the next match as the NWA Midget Championship match. It's Little Tokyo versus Little Mr. T. They tie up. Tokyo has T on the ropes. T runs Tokyo out to the apron and slingshots him back in through the ropes. Tokyo with a side headlock. Tokyo with a shot to T's throat. Tokyo with some shots and a rear chin lock. T reverses it into a hammer lock. Tokyo with a body slam and an arm lock. T trying to come back. Tokyo with shots to T on the ropes. T comes back with a forearm. Tokyo down. Tokyo with a wrist lock into an armbar. T reverses it. Tokyo with shots. T no-sells them. T with a shot, and he runs Tokyo into the turnbuckle. T with a headbutt. That gets a 2 count. T with a headlock. Tokyo reverses it into an arm lock. Tokyo with some shots and a headlock. T with a shoulder block and catches Tokyo in midair and puts an armbar on him. He then does it again when Tokyo tries an assault. Tokyo with a kick to the midsection of T. Tokyo with a kick to the head. Tokyo with a suplex. Exchanging chops. T with a chin lock. Tokyo grabs some hair and brings T down. Tokyo with a backdrop. That gets a 2 count. Tokyo says, "Look up," and points, and the match just stops as everyone looks up. It's very weird. Tokyo with a shot and an Irish whip. He tries to look up thing again, but T hits him this time. Tokyo with some kicks to the gut. T stomping on Tokyo's bare feet. He tries again. Tokyo gets a headlock on T. They break that up. T with a headbutt. T with an Irish whip and a butt bump. He does it again, but misses a third one. Tokyo with an Irish whip and a backdrop. Tokyo with a chop to the throat, and he gets the pin. Larry Nelson talks to Little Tokyo. He said that Little Mr. T did nothing and that he is still the champion. The next match is joined in progress. Buddy Roberts versus Mil Mascaras. They lock up and Mascaras gets Roberts into a head scissors. Roberts up and gets Mascaras into a full Nelson. Mascaras breaks it and delivers a standing drop kick to Roberts. Mascaras gets Roberts into a full Nelson. Roberts fighting out of it. He rolls over and Mascaras gets the full Nelson on again. Roberts gets to the ropes. Mascaras with an armbar, Mascaras with a surfboard and a modified abdominal stretch, Roberts with an eye gouge. He runs Mascaras into the turnbuckle. Roberts choking Mascaras with the tag team rope. Roberts with an Irish whip and lands a boot to the gut of Mascaras. Roberts with an elbow from the second rope. Roberts with a stomp to the groin. That gets a 2 count. Roberts with a backbreaker. That gets another 2 count. Roberts with a swinging neck breaker. Roberts runs Mascaras' face along the top rope. Back and forth. Roberts with the corner whip, but misses the corner charge. Roberts tied up in the corner. The referee steps in and lets him loose. Mascaras pulls Roberts out to the center of the ring. Mascaras with a suplex. Mascaras with a flying clothesline. Roberts gets the foot up on a Mascaras corner charge. Mascaras reverses a corner whip and gets a backdrop. Mascaras pins Roberts after a crossbody. Apparently this was a match for the Mexican Championship. Larry Nelson talks to Mil Mascaras. You can't hear most of the interview because of a mic problem, but he does say more action. He says he has wrestled all over. Larry Nelson talks to Kerry Von Erich. He says he's here to fight for his brother Mike, who is in the hospital. WCCW Texas Championship match. Kerry Von Erich versus Jimmy Garvin with Precious. Von Erich gets a big ovation when he is announced. A Kerry chant goes out. Precious gets up into Von Erich's face to scream at him. Test of strength and Garvin thrown off. Von Erich mimics Garvin's strut. Garvin with a headlock and shot off into an Irish whip by Von Erich. Garvin with a shoulder block. Von Erich with a leapfrog and a drop kick on Garvin. Then another one. Garvin rolls to the outside to regroup. Back in, Precious distracts Von Erich for Garvin to attack, but Von Erich ducks and Atomics drops Garvin. He then discus punches Garvin for a 2 count. Garvin stomping Von Erich down in the corner. Snapmare by Garvin. Garvin misses an elbow. Von Erich misses a knee drop. Back and forth. Von Erich with an abdominal stretch. Garvin with a snapmare and a chin lock. A Kerry chant goes out. Von Erich fighting to get out. Von Erich with a shoulder block. Garvin with a boot to the stomach. Von Erich rolls to the outside. Precious is yelling at him to distract him from getting back into the ring in time. Garvin attacking Von Erich on the apron to keep him from getting in. Garvin then brings Von Erich in with a front face lock. He throws him over the top rope when the referee isn't looking. Von Erich gets back on the apron, drives the shoulder into Garvin, and gets a sunset flip for a 2 count. Garvin with a shoulder to Von Erich. Von Erich responds with a kick to the gut. Von Erich with another discus punch. Then another discus punch. Garvin begging off. Garvin trying to stop Von Erich from applying the claw. Von Erich with a kick to the gut and a corner whip. Von Erich misses a corner charge. Garvin goes up top, but gets caught. Von Erich posts Garvin on the top rope. He falls off and Von Erich gets the pin. Precious comes in the ring to distract Von Erich so Garvin can attack him. But it doesn't work, and Von Erich gets the claw on and drives Garvin out of the ring. Larry Nelson talks to Kerry Von Erich. He says he loves Chicago and will be back. Women in the crowd are losing their mind over this guy. Larry Nelson then talks to Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, and Larry Zbyszko. They say they are going to deliver a wrestling lesson to their opponents and put them in the hospital. Larry then talks to their opponents, Greg Gagne, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig. Gagne is wearing camouflage with his midriff showing, and I am embarrassed for him. They say that the other team has more experience, but they are ready for them. Greg Gagne, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig versus Nick Bockwinkel, Ray Stevens, and Larry Zbyszko. Jack Brickhouse is introduced as announcer for the match. He reminisces for a few minutes before the introductions. Hennig and Bockwinkel start. They are slow to start getting a feel for each other. They tie up a couple of times but break clean when they are on the ropes. Bockwinkel with an arm drag. They lock up again. The crowd gets excited about something off camera. Bockwinkel with a hip toss. Bockwinkel with a scoop slam. Hennig with an arm drag. Then Hennig with a hip toss. Then a body slam on Bockwinkel. Zbyszko tagged in. They lock up but get to the ropes. Zbyszko shoves Hennig and Hennig shoves back, and Zbyszko gets caught up in the ropes. Hennig arm drags Zbyszko when he gets back in. Hennig with a side headlock to Zbyszko. Zbyszko with a push off, but Hennig comes back with a shoulder block. Zbyszko with a slam. Hennig with a boot to the head. Hennig with an arm drag into an arm bar. Hall tagged in. He has an arm bar on Zbyszko. Zbyszko finally makes it to the ropes to get out of the hold. Gagne guillotines Zbyszko on the top rope. Hall goes back to the arm bar. Gagne tagged in. He comes down on Zbyszko's arm from the second rope. The other participants keep threatening to come in, but are held at bay momentarily. Zbyszko with a side headlock. Gagne pushes off. Zbyszko comes back with a shoulder block. Gagne leapfrogs. Monkey flips Zbyszko, then gets him in a head scissors. Gagne goes back to the arm lock, and Hennig tagged in. He hits a double axe handle from the second rope to Zbyszko. Zbyszko with a belly-to-back suplex. Bockwinkel tagged in. Bockwinkel with a knee to the gut of Hennig. Irish whip, and another knee by Bockwinkel. Hennig put in the heel's corner, and Stevens choking him, while Bockwinkel distracts the referee. Referee finally catches them. Bockwinkel with some shots. Stevens tagged in. He distracts the ref while the other two punish Hennig. Hall comes over to try to help, and they run him out. Stevens throws Hennig outside. Zbyszko slams him on the outside. Zbyszko drives his knee down on Hennig. Stevens attacking him and keeping him from getting back in. They are all attacking Hennig. Zbyszko tagged in. Back in, Zbyszko with the abdominal stretch to Hennig. Hennig tags Gagne, but the referee didn't see it, and the heels get Hennig back in their corner to punish him some more. Zbyszko with a front face lock. Hennig arm drags Zbyszko over, but Hennig goes the wrong way, and the heels get him down. Zbyszko with a suplex. Gets a 2 count. Hennig shot off, but gets a kick to Zbyszko. He goes to a neutral corner, and Bockwinkel comes over and guillotines Hennig on the top rope. Bockwinkel tagged in and runs Hennig into the ropes, and Hennig comes back with a cross body. Stevens breaks up the pin attempt. Irish whip and they both collide, and now both are down. Zbyszko tagged in. Gagne tagged in. He cleans house. Gagne drop kicks Bockwinkel. He runs Steven into the face's corner and runs Bockwinkel and Zbyszko together. Now all 6 men in the ring. Very confusing at the end, but Hall power slams Stevens and pins him. The crowd is happy with the result. Larry Nelson talks to Greg Gagne, Scott Hall, and Kurt Hennig. They say they have youth and experience. They said they were going to win, and they did. Larry Nelson talks to the fabulous Freebirds who are going to challenge the Road Warriors for the tag team titles. The Freebirds have the Confederate flag painted on their faces. Why? Michael Hayes says they are going to prove that they are the best team in wrestling. Gordy says the makeup on their faces is nobody's business. Then why did you do it? This shouldn't bother me as much as it does. Moving right along. Buddy Roberts says that everyone will find out what Freebird Fantasia is all about. The answer will come in 6 years in the form of Brad Armstrong under a mask and a copyright claim by Disney, but I digress. Larry Nelson goes to interview the Road Warriors, who just shoot right by him headed to the ring. The crowd mobs the Road Warriors as they try to get in the ring. AWA World Tag Team Championship match. The Road Warriors, Hawk and Animal with Paul Ellering, versus the fabulous Freebirds, Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy with Buddy Roberts. Freebirds attack the Road Warriors as soon as they get into the ring. Warriors fighting back. Animal slams Hayes down. Hawk with a back elbow to Gordy. Freebirds roll outside and regroup. Crowd is hot for the Road Warriors. Crowd chanting against the Freebirds, and Hayes is going crazy trying to get them to stop. Hawk and Gordy start. Hawk with an Irish whip and a clothesline. Hawk with knees to the face of Gordy. Hayes tagged back in. Hawk with a back elbow. Hawk runs Hayes face first into the turnbuckle. Then Hawk runs him into the opposite corner. Animal tagged in, and Hayes rolls outside. Gordy tagged in. Gordy with shots to Animal's face in the corner. Animal reverses a corner whip, and Gordy hits the corner upside down. Animal body slams Gordy down in the ring. Hawk tagged back in and hits a shot to Gordy from the second rope. Hayes tagged back in. Hayes goes for a sunset flip and can't get it, and Hawk tags him with a shot to the face. Hawk with a corner clothesline. Hayes goes to the wrong corner, trying to get away, and Animal tags him with a shot. The Road Warriors taking turns, headbutting and hitting him. He gets to his corner, and Gordy reluctantly tags in. He locks up with Hawk. Gordy pushes Hawk into the corner, gouges Hawk's eye, and hits him with some forearms to the back. Hawk reverses a corner whip, but misses the charge in, and his shoulder hits the corner post. Gordy hits a suplex. He then preens to Animal, luring Animal in, and Hayes comes in and hits Hawk several times while the referee is getting Animal out of the ring. Hayes tagged in. Hawk blocks being run into the turnbuckle. He runs Hayes into the post. Hayes with an elbow to Hawk to break it up. Hayes with a side slam. That gets a 2 count, but Hawk kicks out, throwing Hayes to the outside. Gordy comes in to hit Hawk, but the referee makes him get out. Hayes runs Hawk into Gordy's boot. Gordy tagged in and they deliver a double elbow to Hawk. Gordy with a pile driver to Hawk that he actually halfway sells. Gordy gets Hawk into the Freebird's corner and delivers some shots to his head. Hayes tagged back in. Hawk coming back, landing blows to both Hayes and Gordy. He runs their heads together. Hayes with an Irish whip and a clothesline to Hawk. Hayes with a body slam to Hawk. Hayes goes up top but gets slammed off. Gordy tagged in. Hawk reverses a corner whip, and he and Gordy butt heads as Hawk was coming in for a charge and both down. Animal tagged in and the crowd goes crazy. Gordy and Animal trade shots. Animal atomic drops Gordy. Then Irish whips and power slams him. Gets a 2 count. All 4 in now. Roberts up on the apron to get in, but gets dragged off by Ellering. Ellering decks Roberts, and then Roberts decks Ellering from behind with a chair. Hawk goes after Roberts. Hayes holds Animal for Gordy to hit, but Animal ducks and Hayes gets hit. Animal military presses Gordy several times, and that takes some strength. Animal power slams Hayes. Animal with a shoulder tackle to Gordy. Animal covers Gordy. Hayes with a shot from the second rope to break it up. Gordy covers Animal and gets the pin. New tag team champions? It is very confusing. The Fabulous Freebirds grab the belt and leaves as it is being announced. The Road Warriors pissed in the ring. Larry Nelson gets on the mic to try to explain what's happened. Vern Gagne walks by and Larry pulls him in. He asks for a replay of what happened. They show a replay. They show that Hayes hit Animal with brass knucks, and the titles are returned to the Road Warriors. The crowd is much happier. NWA 6-man Tag Team Championship match. Ivan and Nikita Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev versus Baron Von Raschke, Dick the Bruiser, and the Crusher. Larry Nelson talks to the Russians. Ivan says many try, but they're still the champions. Khrushchev says they will see who the real legends are. Nikita says all stinking Americans go down. Moving right along, a USA chant goes out. A kill all communists sign is shown in the crowd. They are all brawling to begin. The referee trying to get some men out so he can get the match started. Crusher and Nikita start, but Khrushchev quickly tags in. They have Crusher in their corner. Ivan already bleeding. Crusher with some shots and a side headlock. Von Raschke tagged in. Heels get them back to their corner, and he fights out of it. Nikita tagged in as a USA chant starts again. Nikita pushes Von Raschke off. He does it again and then poses. Nikita then with a side headlock. Von Raschke with a shoulder block and shows Nikita the claw. Nikita backs away. Heels conferring in their corner. Ivan tagged in. He gets a shoulder block. Von Raschke with a backdrop. Von Raschke with an Irish whip and a knee to Ivan's stomach. Dick the Bruiser holds Ivan for his partners to hit. Dick the Bruiser runs Ivan into the turnbuckle. Ivan tries then to run Dick the Bruiser into the turnbuckle, but Dick the Bruiser blocks it. Test of strength. Ivan with a couple of boots to Dick the Bruiser's gut, but he doesn't let go. Crusher tagged in, and Ivan immediately grabs him and brings him to the heel's corner. A commies suck chant goes out. Khrushchev tagged in. Khrushchev with an Irish whip, but drops his head, and Crusher kicks his face. Von Raschke tagged in. Irish whip by Von Raschke, and a knee to Khrushchev's gut. Then a knee to the back of Khrushchev. Von Raschke with a chin lock. Khrushchev with an Irish whip. Von Raschke with a shoulder block. Khrushchev with a shoulder breaker. Ivan tagged in. Ivan with a leg drop. That gets a cover, but Dick the Bruiser breaks it up. Von Raschke set up on the ropes for a leapfrog body guillotine, but Von Raschke moves. Crusher tagged in. He shoots Ivan off and buries the knee. Crusher with a snap mare. He drops an elbow on Ivan's groin. He beats on Ivan. Dick the Bruiser tagged back in. He hits some shots and Von Raschke tagged in. He hits a shot, then does the goose step and signals for the claw. He gets the claw and the crowd comes to life. Khrushchev goes up top, but Crusher hits him and he crotches himself on the top rope. Dick the Bruiser cuts Nikita off when he tries to come clean. Khrushchev and the Crusher fight over by Larry Nelson's table. It appears that Ivan gave up, but the referee doesn't see it. They are fighting all over. All of a sudden, Von Raschke is pinned by Ivan. A very loud bullshit chant goes out. Larry Nelson talks to Boris Zukov. He is challenging Sergeant Slaughter for the America's Championship. He doesn't make much sense, but I get the feeling he said that he's going to win. Larry Nelson then talks to Sergeant Slaughter. He said he is here to get justice for the USA. He hands out little American flags on his way to the ring. AWA America's Championship match. Sergeant Slaughter versus Boris Zukov. A group of Marines in dress uniform escort Slaughter to the ring. Zukov attacks Slaughter as he is taking his stuff off. They slug it out. Slaughter catches Zukov's boot. He spins him around and does an eye poke to Zukov. Slaughter runs Zukov's face along the top rope. The upper stands were shown briefly. There was something going on up there, but it's over by the time the camera looks for it. Slaughter with a side headlock and some shots to Zukov's face. Zukov with a knee to Slaughter. Back and forth. Zukov corner whipped hard and his shoulder hits the ring post. Hung up in the ropes and then tossed out by Slaughter. It goes outside and Slaughter with an elbow to Zukov. Back in, Slaughter gets an American flag and almost does a bullfighter taunting thing with it. Slaughter with 2 boots to Zukov and a punch. Slaughter then kisses the flag and gives it back to the fan. Zukov reverses a corner whip and Slaughter does his patented flying over the corner post spot. He lands about 10 feet away from the ring. Zukov goes out after him. Zukov slams Slaughter down on the ground. He then stomps Slaughter. Back in, Zukov runs Slaughter's face along the top rope. He is choking Slaughter with the top rope, but breaks at the 4 count. He guillotines Slaughter on the top rope. That gets a 2 count. A USA chant goes out. Zukov with a swinging neck breaker. Zukov with a side headlock and a gouge into Slaughter's eyes. Zukov with knees to Slaughter's back. Slaughter falls down between the ring and the broadcast table. Zukov follows him and slams him down on the broadcast table. Larry Nelson standing up and bent over looking at the monitor. Slaughter blocks a piledriver attempt and backdrops Zukov on the outside. Slaughter gets back in the ring. Zukov goes up top but gets caught and slammed off. Slaughter with an Irish whip and an elbow. Zukov swinging wildly but not hitting anything. Slaughter with a drop kick. Slaughter with a corner whip and a backdrop. Slaughter goes for the Slaughter cannon, but the referee gets hit and goes flying. Zukov loads up his elbow with some object, but Slaughter gets turned around and stops Zukov with a shot before Zukov can hit Slaughter with the elbow. Slaughter tries a corner charge and gets hit with the loaded elbow pad. Slaughter bleeding. Zukov attacking Slaughter's head. Zukov runs Slaughter into the steel post. The bell rings. A USA chant starts. They start to brawl outside. Slaughter wins by disqualification. Larry Nelson talks to Sergeant Slaughter. He says he declares war on any foreign wrestler and that he's going to clean up America. Larry Nelson then talks to Sheik Adnan Al-KC about the body slam contest between his man Kamala and Jerry Blackwell. He says he has a lot of surprises tonight. Larry Nelson then talks to Jerry Blackwell. He says if Kamala sticks his nose in Blackwell's business again, he'll chop the damn thing off. Okay then, moving right along. $10,000 body slam challenge match. Jerry Blackwell versus Kamala with Sheik Adnan Al-KC. Sheik is on the mic before the match saying roughly what he said to Larry Nelson earlier. He then sings the Arabian national anthem. It goes about how you would expect it to go. They slug it out to begin. Kamala beating Blackwell in the corner as they show the $10,000 check that the winner is supposed to get. Kamala punching and kicking Blackwell hard. Blackwell knocked down. He has a choke on Blackwell, but he is breaking on the 2 count. Kamala with more chops and fists to Blackwell. Blackwell comes back with some shots. Back and forth. Blackwell with an Irish whip and a clothesline. Blackwell with a big splash to Kamala. Blackwell goes for a body slam. Kamala gets to the ropes. Kamala trying to get Blackwell up, but they are at a standstill. Kamala tries to do it again, but can't get it done. Blackwell with some elbows to Kamala's head. Chopped by Kamala. Then some more. Blackwell won't go down, but he is teetering. Finally he goes down. Kamala with a big splash. Kamala with a nerve hold. A Jerry chant goes out. Blackwell trying to get back to his feet. He does and unloads on Kamala with chops and fists. Corner whip and a corner splash by Blackwell to Kamala. Blackwell then body slams Kamala to win. The crowd cheers. Sheik Adnan Al-KC immediately attacks Blackwell. Adnan then grabs the check. Kamala is biting Blackwell. The bell rings. Larry Nelson begs someone to get in and stop this as Adnan is hitting Blackwell with the shaft of his sword. Some enhancement talent wrestlers come out to try to help, but get tossed out almost immediately. Baron von Raschke comes in with a baseball bat and runs the heels off. AWA World Heavyweight Championship match. Rick Martel versus Stan Hansen. Hansen throws a chair in the ring as he gets in. Hansen with all of his gear on as they trade blows. Hansen throws Martel on the outside. They fight in the crowd. Hansen picks up a chair. They trade shots. Martel has Hansen thrown into the ring post. Martel hits Hansen with a chair. Back in, Hansen with an Irish whip and a back elbow. They trade shots. Martel runs Hansen into the turnbuckle. Hansen goes for an Irish whip and a backdrop, but Martel turns it into a sunset flip. That gets a 2 count. Hansen runs Martel into the corner. Hansen with a chop and a corner whip, but misses on the corner charge. Martel with a body slam. Hansen gets Martel down and is choking him. They roll around trading the advantage. It goes back outside. Hansen hits Martel with a chair. He then throws another chair at Martel. Martel with a shoulder into Hansen's midsection. Martel hits Hansen with a chair. The bell rings. Hansen hits Martel with his cowbell. They are still fighting on the outside. Hansen has Martel's neck wrapped up in that bull rope. Martel fighting back. The crowd tries to follow them around. Martel gets out of the bull rope, but he and Hansen are still fighting. Martel slams Hansen on the infield. The match is ruled a double disqualification. The bell rings over and over, but they are still fighting. They fight to the dugout, and Hansen throws Martel into the dugout. They are fighting in the dugout. Officials trying to separate the two. They go to a point where you can't see them anymore. Larry Nelson talks to Magnum TA. He says the issue between he and Ric Flair won't be over till he pins Ric Flair for the title. Larry Nelson then talks to Ric Flair. Flair says he's not walking into Chicago and letting Magnum TA do anything Ric Flair doesn't want him to do. He says he dictates when the bell rings. NWA World Heavyweight Championship match. Ric Flair versus Magnum TA. Magnum gets a good reaction as he is announced. Flair gets billed as from Minneapolis here, as it is an AWA show. He gets a good reaction as well. Flair takes his time taking his robe and belt off. They tie up. Flair gets Magnum into the corner. They break clean. Flair with a takedown. Back and forth. Break clean again. Flair with a side headlock into a hammerlock. Flair with a takedown into a front face lock. Magnum reverses it into a hammerlock. Magnum brings the knee down on Flair. Flair gets to the corner. Back and forth. A USA chant goes out. Magnum with an armbar. Flair shoots Magnum off. Magnum comes back with a shoulder block. Irish whip and a hip toss by Magnum as he follows it up with a drop kick. Magnum with a body slam. Flair begging off. Flair wanting the referee to hold Magnum back as he tries to get up. They lock up, and Flair with a knee to the gut. Then some chops to Magnum, chopping Magnum in the corner. He punches Magnum, and Magnum is down. Magnum reverses a corner whip and backdrops Flair. That gets a 2 count. Magnum goes back to a wrist lock. He turns it into a hammer lock. Flair gets back to his feet. Flair throws Magnum to the outside, but he holds on to the rope and comes back in. He hits Flair with some punches and hip tosses him out of the corner. He goes to drop kick Flair, but misses. Flair chopping on Magnum. Flair with a snap mare and drops the knee on Magnum's head. He runs a knee into Magnum's midsection. Suplex to Magnum. That gets a 2 count. Gets an abdominal stretch on Magnum. The referee catches Flair using the trunks and makes him break the hole. Flair corner whips Magnum. Flair with forearm shots to Magnum in the corner. He chops Magnum. Flair with a snap mare. He misses the knee drop. Magnum gets a figure 4 on Flair. The crowd comes to life. Flair fighting it. He gets to the ropes. He begs off. Magnum brings Flair back to the center of the ring and goes for the figure 4 again, but Flair blocks it. Flair drives his head into Magnum's midsection. Magnum blocks a suplex and hits one of his own. That gets a 2 count. He tries another pin attempt, and Flair kicks out at 1. Flair with an Irish whip and goes for a hip toss. Magnum reverses it into a backslide. Gets a close 2 count. Magnum with some shots to Flair in the corner. Flair chops Magnum and throws him outside. He comes out after Magnum and chops him. Magnum run into the ring post. Flair chopping Magnum. Magnum gets up on the apron, runs his shoulder into Flair, and goes for a sunset flip. Flair punches Magnum in the face to break it up. Flair with a hammerlock. Flair uses the ropes for leverage. He turns Magnum over to turn it into a pinning predicament. He gets caught using the ropes and has to break the hold. Flair with an arm lock. Magnum punches him, so Flair takes Magnum down. Magnum gets to his feet, but Flair takes him down again. Flair working the armbar. Magnum gets to his feet. Flair with a shot to Magnum and some chops in the corner. He then snap mares Magnum out of the corner. Flair back to the arm lock and using the ropes again. Flair goes for a cradle. Gets a 2 count. Magnum trying to bridge out. Flair gets another 2 count. They exchange 2 counts. Flair then chops Magnum in the corner. He unloads on Magnum. Magnum reverses a corner whip and gets a sleeper on Flair. Flair fighting it. Flair goes to one knee. He tries to get to the ropes, but then goes down. Magnum cradles Flair for a 2 count, but Flair gets his foot on the ropes. Magnum with a body slam on Flair. Magnum goes for a splash, but Flair gets his knees up. A Go Terry Go chant goes out. Back and forth with chops and shots. Flair works on the leg and gets the figure 4 on. Magnum fighting it hard. Magnum turns it over. Flair gets out of the hold. Flair goes for the figure 4 again, but Magnum gets an inside cradle for a 2 count. Flair chopping again in the corner. They trade punches in the corner. Flair corner whipped and goes over the top to the outside. It goes outside. Magnum blocks being run into the ring post and runs Flair into the post instead. Back in, Magnum with some shots to Flair in the corner, and Flair is bleeding. Magnum blocks a shot and has Flair down in the ring and punching him. They go back and forth in the corner. Flair does a classic Flair flop. Magnum gets a 2 count. Flair begging off. Flair corner whipped and back dropped. That gets a 2 count for Magnum. Flair with a side headlock. Magnum counters with a leg lock. Flair bridges into a hold and getting some 2 counts. Magnum bridges out. He tries to backslide Flair into a pin, but Flair fighting it. That gets a 2 count. Magnum Irish whips Flair and hits the belly to belly, but the referee is taking it out in the move. Gets another 2 count. Magnum with a side headlock, and Flair pushes off. Reversal by Magnum. Flair in the corner. Magnum tries a roll-up. Gets a 2 count. Flair reverses it and gets the pin, holding Magnum's trunks. Larry Nelson talks to Ric Flair. He says Chicago better get used to Ric Flair as the winner. Larry Nelson then talks to Magnum TA. He says Flair grabbed his trunks and it's a long way from being over. Larry Nelson recaps the night and signs off from Chicago. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at @TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review in iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. And if you do that and take a screenshot and send it to me, I will mention you in a future podcast. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from Stately, Maine Manor.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.